Yosemite National Park is one of the most photographed parks in the world. It's inspired famous photographers such as Ansel Adams and Galen Rowell, who in turn have inspired other great photographers who truly know how to capture the iconic beauty of this incredible park.
The first summer I was here, I had an art program going. I studied with 27 different artists, and they were mostly watercolor artists, but you know, learning to paint and how to see the world is the same. Photography, painting, drawing, all that. It's all about how you see things and the angle of light, the shapes, the geometry. It's all there.
Keith Walker has been photographing Yosemite for decades, capturing some of its most compelling images. But no matter how often he shoots here, he's always surprised by what he finds.
Almost like Mother Nature just said, Yosemite is my outdoor studio. You know, this is where the lighting conditions that happen here, where the light's bouncing off of cliffs to illuminate your face, or a tree that's backlit at the same time and has shadows and all these wonderful elements happening.
Like those who came before him, Keith appreciates the remarkable gifts Yosemite can bestow on an artist who makes the effort to penetrate the deepest parts of the park. For the past several years, Keith and 4 other talented photographers, including Mike Osborne, Charles Kramer, Scott Miller, and Carl Krober, have been hiking into the backcountry to record the little-known scenery found there.
Bob Hansen, president of the Yosemite Fund, sort of came to the realization that we were dealing with a limited set of images that we had available to express the park to people. And they were mostly the classic, iconic views of Yosemite Valley. And Bob, being a backcountry guy, wanted to sort of bring more of the park back in here.
Why am I talking about it? You guys tell me something.
In 2001, we took our first trip, and we went for 2 weeks out on the Lyle Fork of the Merced River and had an absolutely great time.
Just like the famous trips Ansel Adams and others have taken over the years, Keith, Carl, and their photographic friends have found themselves immersed in an ever-changing landscape, challenging each other, teaching each other, and inspiring each other.
5 unique perspectives, 5 different approaches to the landscape, you know, as we've been out there and working side by side. But as most photographers know, you could stand next to somebody and they're going to have a completely different vision than your own. And that's what's the beauty of it, is that, you know, we all have brought our unique perspectives and celebrate different aspects of the landscape, and yet it's all the same place.
Even though Keith has since moved back to Idaho, he and his compatriots continue to make their yearly treks into the backcountry, not only because they love it, but also in a way to help preserve it.
As we go about our busy lives, we need to be reminded that places like this exist, and they exist for a reason, multiple reasons. One is that actually somebody had the foresight to set them aside. 2, that they need continued protection. 3, that there are other places like this that perhaps not have achieved the notoriety of Yosemite or the protected status of Yosemite, that we still are always faced with the opportunity to do more to save places like this for the future generations.
Yosemite National Park has been attracting visual artists, including photographers, for nearly 150 years.
So this looks good. I love that top edge of the far cliffs, all those trees silhouetted against the sky.
Not only because of its spectacular scenery, but because places like these were unimaginable to people elsewhere. Words just weren't enough to describe them.
From the beginning, Yosemite was a place that people found hard to believe. And the first European settler type people showed up here in the 1850s. Shortly after that, reports started coming out about what Yosemite was and what a remarkable place it was. And generally, they were met with disbelief. So very early on, a few painters and photographers came in and started taking pictures and painting paintings that expressed what Yosemite was. And those things went primarily back east into the big population centers and helped to make the park believable in many ways.
The technology was quite different back then, but the desire to share the wonders of Yosemite far outweighed the level of difficulty it took to get the equipment in.
Very early on, the very best prints possible were these mammoth plate negatives, which were actually 16 by 20 inch glass plates, which was the actual photograph. And these guys had to carry as many shots as they felt they could take in a day with them in wooden crates on mules or on their backs into these remote places where they could get the vantage point that they were looking for. This is the 1860s, 70s, 80s. It was a tremendous undertaking and a technical tour de force for considering what was happening at the time. Today, these images are still some of the highest quality, highest resolution, best images ever taken in the park, despite all of the advances in photography.
The National Park Service is a great steward of history. Those of us who find time to visit the Yosemite Park Museum are treated to incredible works of art documenting the park's past.
Once people get a little deeper into the park, there are other resources here that are really top-notch. The Yosemite Museum is an absolute gem. It contains now over 4 million pieces from all over the map. The history of this place, this park, the region, art, science, it's all here.
When you spend time with Keith and Carl, you really get a sense of what this place means to them, how it shaped their lives and influenced their art, allowing us to share in the wonders of Yosemite. Stay with us. We have a lot more to show you about this incredible park. Many of the photos captured by Keith Walklett, Carl Kroeber, and the backcountry photographers can be found on the Yosemite Fund's website. To see the photos and learn more about how you can help preserve and protect Yosemite, go to yosemitefund.org.